Hi, welcome to Ed Paris TV. So today I'm going to talk to you more about diet. Now there's something really important we have to consider. The pH of the water in our bodies. So it should be slightly above neutral, around 7.4. And the reason that's important is because of something I've mentioned in a previous video. A discovery by a doctor named Otto Warburg in 1933. And he won a Nobel Prize for discovering that cancer cannot exist in a highly oxygenated alkaline state. And as the years passed, other scientists found out that it's not just cancer, but pretty much any disease, including the common cold. And it's really important for us to maintain that pH balance because it's not only going to repel disease, but it will help preserve our youth and the density of our bones and everything else that comes with the term health. So, balancing the pH of the water in our bodies encompasses knowing exactly what it is that you're eating and how it contributes to the pH. For example, most vegetables and most fruits, even lemons, which are acidic, leave an alkaline ash in the body and will help to preserve and build up the mineral stores in the body. And then there's other things like sugars, carbohydrates, and most proteins leave an acid ash. So it's important to balance this. And one really simple way, not an absolute way, but a simple roundabout way to get it right is you figure for every handful of starch and every handful of protein, for every handful of starch and every handful of protein, you need 3 to 4 handfuls of vegetable matter to balance the pH of the water in your body. Now, in terms of quantity, in terms of how much of each of these things we're going to be eating, it really has to do with your metabolism, your body type. And there's 3 basic body types. There's ectomorphs, which are people who tend to be thin as a rail and have a difficult time putting on weight and have a very fast metabolism. They have a hard time putting on muscle. There are endomorphs, and endomorphs are more rotund. They have a slower metabolism. They can put on weight easily, and they have a hard time losing weight. And then there are mesomorphs, and mesomorphs kind of can go either way. And they can put on weight pretty easily, and they can lose weight pretty easily, depending on how they are focused on their plan. So, once you have those things in mind, the pH of the water in the body, the type of body type that you have, then you have to start counting things. Counting calories, counting grams. So when you look at the labels of foods, you'll see that's usually labeled in grams or milligrams. So for proteins, for instance, every gram of protein is 4 calories. Every gram of carbohydrates is also 4 calories. And every gram of fat is 9 calories. So now you have a better idea of how much of each of these foods you should be eating. So I've got it down to pretty much a mental science where I could just look at a plate and I can tell you what's on it. You know, how many grams of protein, how many grams of carbohydrates, and how many grams of fat. Sometimes it's not so easy. If I didn't make it myself, you don't know how much of these things are in there. Usually you can with the proteins and the starches, but it's kind of hard to tell with the sodium milligrams and with the fat grams. You don't know what the chef did back there if you didn't make it yourself, which is why I'm not too fond of eating out a whole lot, because if you're depending on what other people are doing and they're not providing you with that precise information, you might really miss the boat. But it might not matter so much depending on how you approach your day. So speaking of approaching the day, there's a new thing now that people are catching on to, especially Hollywood stars and health conscious people are catching on to this cutting edge idea of intermittent fasting. I myself do it. So there's 24 hours in a day, and 16 of those hours, ideally, it could be 12, 14 is good. The 16 is ideal. 16 of the 24 hours fasting. At first, you might think, oh my gosh, that sounds absurd. How am I going to do that? But it's really not that bad once you keep in mind that most of those hours you're spending sleeping, and you're not eating in your sleep. So when you wake up in the morning, first thing you do is you hydrate. So it's good to have a room temperature glass of water, ideally with a squeeze of lemon in it. And the electrolytes in the lemon will help the water immediately absorb and start to hydrate you, because when we wake up slightly dehydrated. And to break the fast, notice the word breakfast encompasses the two words break fast. Right there, it's telling you that it shouldn't be what you normally see people doing. When you break a fast, you don't want to throw in a whole lot of heavy food in your stomach. I see a lot of people, they'll eat eggs and bacon and cereal or oatmeal and load up on all these heavy foods that are going to cause you to feel lethargic, and that's not a good way to start the day, because you're going to need energy. It's the beginning of the day. So the ideal way to break the fast after you've hydrated with some water is to introduce the body to some blood sugars so that it can wake up the digestive tract and prepare it to be able to wrestle with more solid foods. Now, I don't like to break the fast until after I train. I train on an empty stomach in the morning. And I like to do that because it makes my metabolism start flying, so that when I start to eat, it's very unlikely that anything that I eat for the rest of the day, if I train on an empty stomach, that any of it is going to end up as unwanted body weight. So the way that I would suggest that people do it is to eat some fruit first and then gradually introduce the other foods. So about 15 minutes after you've had fruit, and I like to start with something like pineapple. Also, a little harder to find is papaya. And the reason why I like pineapples and papayas is because they're really rich in enzymes. Kiwis also have a lot of enzymes. So these enzymes help to break down the protein. And you don't want protein accumulating in your body and you not being able to break it down because you're lacking enzymes. If you're lacking enzymes, your body can manufacture enzymes, but that stresses the body out. And that's not the ideal way to start the day. You don't want to start the day stressing yourself out. So you're getting those enzymes to be able to break down the protein. And immediately after you train, if you do train in the morning like I do, your body's begging for protein. But you don't want to put the protein in right away without getting those enzymes. So the enzymes help to break down the protein. And then the carbohydrates will allow the amino acids of those proteins to take a piggyback ride into the bloodstream and infuse them right into the muscle and begin the recovery process. So once you've broken the fast with fruit, you can move on to something more substantial. If you're a vegetarian, you might want to eat quinoa or some nuts. If you eat anything, you might want to have some eggs because they have a high bioefficiency ratio of protein absorption. Very little of the protein that's in eggs is wasted. Your body will use it right up. So eggs and maybe some goat's milk. I prefer goat's milk over any other form of dairy because it's so similar to human milk. But if you are going to consume cow dairy, I would suggest grass-fed and ideally something that has cultures in it like a kefir from grass-fed cattle. But if you shy away from any animal products, I understand. There's a lot of people who have a moral issue about eating animal products, and they lean vegetarian or even vegan. And you can, consume nuts and legumes and protein-rich grains that are high in fiber. And fiber is also very important. You want to envelop the protein source with fiber to make sure it travels through the digestive tract. So when you start eating throughout the day and you've broken the fast, you have about an 8 to 10 hour window to eat all your meals. And a common mistake I see a lot of people make is that they drink fluids when they're eating. And that's a mistake, because you want your stomach acids to work effectively and be powerful enough to break down that food. But when you're diluting it with drinks of any kind, even water, it's not a good idea. So when you're finished eating each meal, wait about 15, 20 minutes, maybe even a half hour, and start to drink water. And shy away from all these other drinks. You know, tea, warm tea is okay, but you don't want to drink tea constantly either, because that'll stress out your kidneys. But water is ideal, and I don't suggest people drink anything that has been pasteurized and is packaged. These are not really, I can't even call it food or drink, really. It's food-like products, things that come in boxes and bottles that have been sitting on shelves. None of that is good for you. As a matter of fact, when I tell people to shop for their own groceries, I suggest you shop around the perimeters of the supermarket as much as possible. Avoid the aisles. You know, go to the aisles for the things that you must get, you know. But, you know, you want to do most of your food shopping around the perimeters of the supermarket, is where most of the useful food is found. So once you've broken the fast and you've started eating, you have that 8 to 10 hour window to get your meals in before you start the fast again. And in between meals is when you want to hydrate. Okay, and you want to avoid sugar drinks of any kind. Even fresh fruit juices are not really a good idea, because they tally up calories needlessly, when you should be getting them from food. Okay, if you're going to drink juices, fresh juices, it's best to consume them early in the day, because those sugars enter the bloodstream quickly, and they'll tally quickly, and they'll become fat. They'll store as fat. And they may even drop the pH of the water in the body if you're getting too much sugar in at once. So keep all of that in mind, and we'll get into more of the different types of diet and how they work for those three body types that I mentioned, you know, the ectomorph, the endomorph, and the mesomorph, and how to approach eating depending on your body type and your exercise routine and the types of activities that you do and how active you are. So that'll be all for today for Ed Paris TV. If you're liking it, please subscribe and comment, and I'll catch you next time. All right? Peace.